What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 19 of my Total War Warhammer 3 Sayl the Faithless Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, Black Crag has gone the way of Karak 8 Peaks and Karak Azul before it as we continue taking on the Karaz-a-Karak Dwarfs with, I would say, pretty extreme effectiveness considering the sheer amount of armies and that they have had so far. But they are in our way as we walk our way out of the Darklands and move towards, sort of the Empire, but just generally speaking, more territory to get more of those lovely dark ritual sites up and running. So we will continue in that light. In terms of what we got to do this turn, I do believe we had one battle remaining, which was, yes, Char. You are threatening Karaz-a-Karak, and Wolfric Trollhewer, you are besieging Karak Vlag, rather, because we are waiting to see if anybody sails out of there. Sally's out of there. Anyway, I would like to double check any interesting... I got two disfiguring eye, or disfiguring scar. Wait, distinguishing... You gotta be kidding me. There's a distinguishing scar and a disfiguring scar, and they're both enemy leadership reductions? I didn't realize that. Oh, Diabolic Splendor, Skinwolf. Yes, I'm gonna have to get you on the field immediately for you will be put to use. Nobles, I don't care for this sneaky one that much, I guess. Although an Ephemer army... Wait. I always forget. Do the Ephemer nobles get this trait automatically? Do we even have Ephemer noble here? Yeah, you. Do they get... Yeah, they get stock automatically, meaning sneaky is a completely useless garbage trait. You. In and then out. Slaneshi giggle. And I believe that's it, because I don't really... Well, the Shaman Sorcerers don't matter that much. Tar, you already have Ephemer Noble with the Disfiguring Scar, the Shaman Sorcerer with Diabolic Splendor, which is great, and a tough Skinwolf Werkin. That one we might swap out for another one with a Distinguishing Scar, or whatever it is. Disfiguring Scar, or one of the two. Anyway, I think that's all we gotta do, so let us have Charmagus... Ooh, wait. Well, actually, let's level you first. I just had a thought as well. Alright, Ruinous, hold on to the thought. Let's get you Foe Seeker. Let's upgrade the Ephemer Bale Fiend, or get you. We do use Penumbral Pendulum a fair bit, but yeah, let's go Earthing, Magical Reserves, Arcane Conduit, Penumbral Pendulum, and I'm going to say get another point in the Pit of Shades. Basically make the expensive one slightly cheaper. Yeah, the fighty stuff is great. I do like Ephemer Bale Fiends being fighty and all that, but I'd like to keep the spell work as good here as we can get, because we're going to need it against Karaz-a-Karak. Now, the thing that I had a thought of is... 11 out of 24, eh? Ooh. We can risk... this. Exploit your rivals. We're at 3 to 5. Basically, we have a 66% chance of this being okay and a 33% chance of drawing the ire of the gods or the gaze of the gods. I'm gonna say give it a try. Like so. And let's see what happens. Come on, give me 3 or give me 4. Don't give me 5. Let's see what we got. And, hey, alright, it worked out. Give us 3. Hey, not even a 4. Beautiful. Alrighty, and what that does, I don't really care about the attrition thing. What I care about is the minus 100% ammunition, meaning that this army, with its 2 Iron Drakes, its 2 Gyrocopters, and its 3 Organ Guns, those are all now useless. Isn't it beautiful? So, Charmagus, you can now move on and attack Throny of Zorn. Draw out the garrison of Karaz-a-Karak. Of course, the main garrison will have ammunition, but, you know, one Grudge Thrower and a few Quarrelers aren't going to be nearly as big of a threat as this. So I guess the pile of Iron Drakes will just move on into melee, eh? Oh, you're... Well, you know what? Maybe you are appropriately named Charmagus. That's some sneaky Tzeentch stuff if I've ever heard it. Go. Alrighty, here we go. Thanks to Sayl's manipulation, the biggest threats to our army are effectively neutralized by virtue of having no ammunition. So, and just what are these guys going to do? Huh. Yeah, I feel like the Marauder Chieftains should have, like, just give the guy a bunch of javelins. If you're gonna sit up there and do literally nothing, just chuck a bunch of javelins at jerks. But anyway... I digress. Here we go. Big old mammoth charge towards the enemy lord, who immediately takes about, I don't know, 20% or so of his HP and probably stands little to no chance. Facing down Charmagus in a direct confrontation and dropping to half HP and lower with every single hit. The main thing, right? Oh, wait, reinforcements. Oh, he's already broken. And, just about dead. Oh, okay, of course. It always feels like the very last hit whiffs. Like, as soon as the enemy starts routing, the Lord starts missing every hit and not finishing him off. There you go. Alright, that's how you crush a stunty. Anyway, now the enemy is coming in about 30 seconds, and, well, we might as well move a little bit closer to them, just at the edge of the range of the Iceforged Legion, who will immediately begin firing. Oh, I love this artillery piece. It's always so entertaining to watch. And there we go, all 4 hits straight to those Longbeards, taking out a solid 30-40% of their HP or so. Plenty more Dwarfs where that came from, but no organ guns, or at the very least, no organ guns with ammunition. Just, okay. We're gonna get a few of those organ guns, regardless of the fact that they don't have ammunition. And just had to double check, yes, they don't have ammunition in the replay either. I was figuring, wait, what if this manipulation causes desyncs because the game wouldn't register the positive units without ammunition, but apparently it does, so we're all good. Anyway, the Iceforged Legion will continue laying down that fire on whatever enemy units it can target, with the priority targets, of course, being enemy hammerers, because they're the biggest threat to our ice trolls. Once the hammerers have been dealt with, I don't imagine that the enemy has too much that they can do, especially with those iron drakes and their ice-threatening flamethrowers having been de-ammoified. Anyway, a little bit more bombardment as the enemy marches towards us, and it looks like, actually, just out of curiosity, how much damage are we looking at on the Iceforged Legion so far? 136 kills, okay, 149 kills and 19k, 3 minutes in. Pretty darn good. Alright, but I think we've seen enough of the cannonry bombardment, and so we'll just speed it up and get ready for the battle proper to be joined. One of the enemy hammerers is in severely bad shape, and we'll make sure that the other one and this one are in even severer shape. A Ice Dragon Breath, or Chaos Frost Dragon Breath rather, severely damages both of them, and we can switch artillery fire to the second set of hammerers to make sure that none of them are able to close the distance. Alright, here comes the Mammoth, or Charmagus, with his Frost Dragon Scale, and summoning his Frost Dragons upon the piles of enemy Quarrelers here, who have little recourse as, well, they're not going to be able to fight on par with the Frost Dragons, especially with all 3 of them fighting together, as opposed to being sort of separated and fighting apart like we often do. Otherwise, it's time for the Frost Trolls, or Ice Trolls, Frost Dragons but Ice Trolls, to charge the enemy ranks. There are a lot of Longbeards to take care of, but unlike the Hammerers and Slayers of Battle Past, or Battles Past, we shouldn't have too much trouble in dealing with Longbeards by comparison. We have plenty of armor-piercing weapon damage on the Trolls, and a solid bit of magical damage as well. Pit of Shades coming down in a big old blob, and basically destroying 2 units, a balance of power already shifting to about 80% in our favor. Our fast movers have arrived as well with the Ice Wolves and Ice Wolf Chariots, and charging in to make sure that they distract all the enemy range units that they can. And this one was looking for a range unit, but by the looks of it, there are none that really remain, so we're just going to charge into a melee unit instead. Though by the looks of it, it's not just the melee, the balance of power, or it's not just the range, rather, the balance of power is at about 90% in our favor, and the melee units will join the range units in death momentarily. And those are some happy looking trolls there. Look at that smile. Alrighty. And okay, you maybe hit something that isn't air, but I suppose it doesn't matter over much with that. The enemy army will shatter, and the battle is ours. Very, very little damage this time around. I don't even know if we suffered any losses. If we did, they are very much not severe. Okay, I see one troll died here. Maybe some wolves died out of this army, something like that. Or out of this little unit. Looks like 2 wolves and 1 troll that I can see. Alrighty, there we go. That was absolutely brutal. The manipulation effectively disabled a big portion of the enemy's sort of high damage dealers, and thanks to the Iceforged Legion, we were able to knock out both of the enemy Hammerer units, which without the presence of Slayers, were the biggest threat to the Ice Trolls afterwards. It was just absolute slaughter, as we only got 3 losses over the course of the entire battle, and most of the damage was on our Fimir Bale Fiend with Shadows, who I didn't take the fighty stuff on prior to the battle, and thus, well, it probably took a little bit more damage. Fantastic. Did we need to use that manipulation? I don't know about that, but I do know that it worked out very well. Alrighty. And another Banner of Swiftness. Every single one of these makes me very happy for the, especially for the Lords on Mammoths. Ally missions successful is aplenty as well. Ooh, I gotta double check if I missed out on... No, I did not miss out on. Okay. I was wondering whether we had other missions, but it looks like we don't. Karaz-a-Karak. Once again, we come into the question of whether we want to sack it in order to get the free 65k or what's not. And then obviously lower the level of it to tier 3. Our growth is relatively slow on the one hand. On the other hand, how much do we actually care about? Well, the tier 4 is the most important thing because that's where we get most of the, the spoils buildings, and the spoils buildings, every single one of them offers us a bonus missile resistance and bonus weapon strength, faction-wide, so those are pretty nice. Don't really care about the rating one, though. And, oh, we do need tier 5 for the Figurehead Palisade, which, admittedly, since we're primarily going for major settlements, and not minor settlements, we will need them to be actually defensible. Yeah, you know what, screw it. I know it's 62k, but it's not like we need to take territory like in the Empire or anything like that, so we'll be free to sack and raise and whatnot those territories. We get 15k spoils just out of this, but we could probably do the same thing out of like Castle Drakenhof or something. Raise again, no, colonize. Alright, there we go. And it's a free tier 4. We get to keep the Raiders Bazaar. Well, we'll keep the Ruinous Kiln. Okay, you reconvert back because I don't like the spoils loss per turn. Delete this. Convert the Colossal Offering, I guess. And I guess we'll want to delete the Raiders Bazaar here. It's not that it's a bad building, it just doesn't offer us any faction-wide buffs. Oh, actually, frankly, now that I think about it, we need to build... wait, what do we have here? Oh, we don't have the first stash, which is needed. We need both of these buildings. So actually, this building is not useful here either. Fair enough. Honestly, I'm even tempted to get rid of the Ruinous Kiln. And maybe my favorite kind of kiln, but we need to build 1, 2, 3, 4 structures, and until we're tier 5, I only have room for 3. Alright, so let's do that. Alright, not a big deal. And then you can immediately go into Raiders to... or Marauders to Builders, mostly because of the growth rather than the actual defensive capabilities. I'm kind of tempted to get this thing growing a little bit faster. Look at that, 65 growth. And that's with the Slavers Camp / first stash / whatever. Needs quite a bit more. Yeah, you know what? Switch to Marauders to Builders. The growth just isn't there. And this is why it's kind of better to, you know, for those territories that we're looking to hold, not to sack or raise them, because it's going to take forever. Absolutely forever. Also, why did I keep this Victi Temple here? It's one of the more useless ones. Tiny bit of money generation. I like the Hero and Lord Recruit rank +1, don't get me wrong. But considering how many of these we need, Oh, we need the defensive structure and the Longhouse Underhall here as well. Yeah, whatever. We'll build them. We'll build them eventually. Just keep it. I don't want to redo every single building or it's going to take too long. Anyway, I think that was the only thing that we needed to do this turn, right? I'm going to assume that it was. We have building already having been completed last episode, so we can skip the rest of this. I think this was just the last thing that we had to do before the end of the turn. Ah, they wiped out the gobos at the Forest of Gloom. Good for them. In turn. Alright, let's see if anybody is near enough to attack us or punish us for this, although the Karaz-a-Karak may not have enough armies to do any of that punishing anymore. Oh, they're not looking so hot. Alrighty, Master Mason Tar. We got Slaughtering of the Greenskins complete, and actually, out of curiosity, we already did the Ravaging of the Dwarfs. We didn't. I mean, we would have gotten it out of Karaz-a-Karak, but we already had 10 battles against them, obviously. So I got nothing out of that. Anyway, and back to the Ice-Blooded Strength then. Alrighty, then Victa Yalkaz the Pure. You are going to take Iron Rock for us, or rather, you're going to sack Iron Rock and raise it as a Dark Altar. Like so. And you have a Banner of Swiftness? Huh, interesting. And sack it. Ooh. It's a decent amount of pillaging as well, but anyway, sack it. And then mosey on in, and then raise a Dark Altar. Chaos Altar. I keep saying it's a dark ritual, but whatever. Raise a Chaos Altar, and then we will build this once it's level 2. Alrighty, Black Crag, we need the defenses. Most critically we do. And Sayl. Now, the question is, how do we move? I guess we can send Yalkaz out to Karak Drawn, which will allow Sayl to move through towards Dok Karaz and Berak Var. Seems like the more sensible thing to do, though with him traveling over the next few turns, this could also be a very good time to... Okay, you know what? Go here, only move... Use half of your movement range. We could pop the next of the ritual things after we do everything else, basically. Alright, Baelgar, your recruitment is going good. Let's do a hero check real quick. Skinwolf, I don't care for the uncompromising ones, so we'll disband you. What else do we have here? Diabolic Splendor. Oh, it's this Diabolic Splendor. I mean, it's fine, but it's not amazing. Don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the leadership aura size. Wait a moment. You, Fimir Noble, you are one with Diabolic Splendor. Maybe if we give you guys Crowns of Command and just rely on just having massive leadership auras. I'm just thinking about the Fimir army. Although there are much better traits, although the Fimir Nobles actually suffer from kind of meh traits, so you know what, maybe get a second Diabolic Splendor one. I don't actually know that it's more worth it than just getting a Sanguine one, but whatever. A source of terror in their army, I guess. Anyway, Sayl, just sit there for a moment. Havthor, you... we got a new hunt available, finally. Poor Havthor, he's been sitting there. I think there's nobody close here. I wish that Blorgar the Mad didn't just say the Northern Chaos Wastes, because that is so incredibly vague. This could be super far from us. There's no way to know. And I don't want to activate it because, yeah, I guess we could do the Wise One, which is in Cathay, but it could be fairly far as well. But, you know, let's do the Wise One. Begin hunt with Mr. Havthor. Like so. What does this give us again? Such a Land Feathers. Encourage for flying units. Yeah, I was going to put a bunch of flyers in the Xingqian army. Oh, huh. I noticed that it doesn't buff... It buffs cockatrices. It doesn't buff cockatrices and only buffs the Manticore, the Praeton, or is that the Herald of Arden specifically? Something of Arden. And the Chimeras. Kind of annoying that it doesn't buff cockatrices, but anyway, begin hunt. Hey, it's right there. And it really worked out so far sitting in this gate here. Anyway, is this immediately the battle, or is this just the start of the battle? Last time it was basically immediately the fight, so... It could potentially be. Anyway, Havthor, you've been sitting there and not fighting for several turns now, so we're gonna mosey on in and fight in a second, and just double-checking the traits and stuff, but it's looking like we're pretty okay. Blade Master into, I guess, hard to hit. Get nice and tanky on that mammoth of yours. Fire Bale Fiend, should we just go for the dangerous practices? I mean, it's a fire mage, if anybody's gonna have some dangerous practices. On the other hand, that doesn't really help with the anti-large, and you're mostly here to buff other units rather than clear mobs out. On the other hand, yeah, because this would be a lot of casting that would be hurting you without actually doing any damage in theory. But it is really nice. I just get it anyway. It seems like the chaotic thing to do. Ephemer Nobles. Yeah, so you guys got Tough. Yeah, Tough seems just outright better than the Diabolic Splendor on the Nobles, obviously because they have the inferior version of that particular trait. Grab you Hardened Skin. And grab Might of the Swamp as well. And let's go Deadly Blade into Foe Seeker, and then you can do the same thing, presumably. Hardened Skin, Deadly Blade, Foe Seeker. You already have Might of the Swamp. And I guess 2 points ahead. Grab War of Chaos and Moonmaker. Well, I get a solid amount of HP as well. They're both fine choices. Working. You could grab Razor Claws, but I'm more inclined to grab Colossal Strike first, and then still grab Razor Claws. Perfect. All right, let's see what we get. Go. And Hafthor Christensen gains trait Wounded. This is a permanent trait. 5% chance to be removed on each turn. Would we get bonus XP? Versus upkeep or increase for 3 we don't care about upkeep. Yeah, we'll take hunters first. The hunters have learned that many backwater temples have been graced by the Wise One's passage. You have discovered your own form of grace, delivered your own form of grace to them in turn, the people of this one included. The statues, however, have taken exception to that treatment and would return it. A short and fierce clash could serve as a reminder that before the hunters undertook the venture, they were warriors. Who better to provide that example than their lord? On the other hand, the encounter could be avoided. However, the hunters themselves, having announced their presence, may become the hunted for a while. Hunters first. The price of avoiding battle is not as steep as that of the hurtling headlong into it, though the price there will be, sure. And, okay, it's not that far. It's not that far. 2 turns of travel. In fact, maybe 1 turn of travel. We might be able to reach that in non-march stance next turn, which would be great. Alrighty, and... Huh? No, okay, it's grayed out. Oh, the cooldown is after you complete the hunt. Damn it. Cooldown should start as soon as you start the hunt, not complete it, damn you. But, I mean, not really, but anyway. Alright, well, if that is the case, then I guess we're free to go to the next part of the ritual. Slann Mage, the plan, whatever. Let's see what this says. Before abandoning the world to the predations of the Chaos Gods, the Old Ones charged their mortal servants, the Lizardmen, with the care of their surviving works, the ordering of the heavens, the proper workings of time, the shape of the globe itself, or so you have gleaned from certain salvaged texts. Those ancient writers were surprisingly grudging in their admission of the Old One's powers. The power of your Chaos Altars must have grown beyond all measure to have roused these cold-blooded guardians of the cosmic balance from their torpor. And before we go in, you should be level 50 now. Hey, there we go. Last level, all of Sayl's heroes are now leveled. I did want a second tactician skin Wolfwerekin in here to replace the one unnamed Marauder Bearman unit. Maybe someday we will actually find one. Or maybe we will not, because we've been going through heroes for a while and nothing's changed. Teleport. Yes. Alrighty, ooh, a Dread Saurian, a Coatl, the Ancient Steg with Engine of the Gods, some Blessed Temple Guard, a Blessed Steg, and on top of that, reinforcements expected. This looks like it's gonna be a good time. Yeah. I was kind of expecting a speech there, but apparently not. Game keeps you guessing, I guess, as, well, sometimes there is a speech and sometimes there isn't. Anyway, Sayl charges forth towards the enemy army immediately, War Shrine aglow, and the enemy Dreadsaurian and does the same thing. Of course, the Dreadsaurian starts losing massive amounts of HP, 30% already dropped as both Balor and Beorg Bearstruck close the distance. Our two duelists with Beorg rather, acting as the tank here, and good lord are they obliterating that poor Dreadsaurian. It's down to 30% HP already. We have no ranged here to punish a Dreadsaurian, and just pure heroes just dishing out that damage. And of course the massive debuffs, I'm sure, from the Helm of Discord and from the Enfeebling Foe are helping. And there we go. With that, the Dreadsaurian drops to 5% and then 0% HP and collapses. Rare to see these things at all, especially from the AI, and certainly rare to see them die, but good job once again to Beorg Bearstruck and Balor there. Now, there are other big boys to close the distance with, though Sayl has been dealing with the Ancient Steg with the Engine of the Gods, and, well, frankly, the enemy's main line is in very bad shape already. The enemy did keep 2 of its units of Blessed Temple Guard over on the left and right flanks, but here we have caught one out and completely surrounded it from 3 sides with those Kurgan. Of course, the Kurgan horsemen are very, very fragile, but they also deliver massive amounts of armor-piercing damage, and they tear through that unit of Blessed Temple Guard like absolutely nothing. Fantastic. Now, those guys are done for, and the enemy reinforcements have arrived. Just an appetizer, as with all of these dark ritual battles, as 2 Slann, kind of spinning around each other on their mobility scooters, are leading a pile of red-crested skinks as well as Kroxagors. Too little to save the other army, however, as the Bearmen and the single entities run down what remains, while Sayl starts moving through the piles of newly arriving red crests, taking out a few of them with that Night Maw ability, and then moving towards the 2 Slann. They really are sticking together. Sticking together is what good Slann do. Alright, there we go. And it looks like, did they hit Sayl with a Spirit Leech? By the looks of it, they did, but they're not going to be particularly effective in melee. Sayl's already got the Deathlore Priest down to about half HP. The bounce power has shifted to about 80% in our favor now, and by and large, we're just running down the units of the first army until the second one makes its way onto the battlefield, while Sayl once again continues to fight the Slann. Nice thing about this, I guess, is that while it is the dark portion of the map for the duel between these two, it is also a portion of the map that, ooh, nice little Urnon's Thunderbolt, actually does a fair bit of damage there. Roughly the same as one of Sayl's hits. But anyway, as I was saying, both of them are very much glowy here. And thus we can see exactly what's going on despite this being a dark portion of the map. And one more hit, and that Slann should fall, teleporting. Oh, actually, he didn't teleport out of there. Well, maybe he wanted to, but it didn't work out. Anyway, the Death Slann Mage Priest escapes, or attempts to escape, leaving the Life Priest behind. Going to hit him with a Shellcane's Teeth, which does surprisingly little damage, considering this particular Slann has no spell resistance. As I recall in SFO, they actually have a lot of spell resistance. Kind of weird to see them without any here. Unless something we have is lowering their spell resistance, which is a distinct possibility. Anyway, obviously the enemy main army has at this point routed, those Red Crests having stood no chance whatsoever, even with Kroxagor support against the piles of Bearmen and the single entities there. We will run them down while we kill off the last Slann and complete the mission. And honestly, Sayl's just sort of pushing him forward with the Mammoth at this point, and there we go. Oh, they don't teleport out, they just fall and go blah. And for some reason the death pose amuses me of these guys. For some reason I always had it in my head that Slann would just teleport out rather than dying like that, but all good. Anyway, close victory apparently, but I really don't see what was all that close about it. Alrighty, there we go. Chase down those Slann with Sayl, and otherwise the battle was no problem. We took comparatively little damage, and we can continue freely moving as we are. Reward-wise, I guess we don't even really need to heal. We can sacrifice the captives for the Bearmen at 7.3k. It is the Arrow Eaters, eating lizards, just sort of eating javelins, and then the lizards that threw them, just as well as they did arrows. Fimir Noble Balor did pretty well, together with Beorga. I love that these two are just buddies. I use both of them together, generally speaking, to go and kill single units, and they absolutely tore that poor Dread Saurian to shreds with all that damage on them. Shockingly effectively, I might say. Anyway, a lovely fighting. Sacrifice captives, I guess. And the level 3 of the ritual is complete, and then there was one. Isn't that lovely? And this will, I assume... Hello, what do we have here? Oh! Okay, so we actually will get to pick between Azric the Maze Keeper and Burplesmirk Spewpit. Now, here's the thing about this. Every time I play Norsca, I always choose Burplesmirk. Burplesmirk is about 10 times stronger than Azric is. It's actually kind of ridiculous how powerful the army buffs are for Burplesmirk, and because I choose him every single time, I'm going to choose Azric instead. It's not that Azric offers awful buffs or anything, it's just that compared to Burplesmirk, they're so hilariously inferior, because Burplesmirk gives horrible regeneration to the entire army. Just that alone is already so insanely overpowered, because horrible regeneration resurrects combatants in addition to just regenerating. And that's just the start of it. He offers a bunch of other stuff like battle healing cap and such to his army. Whereas Azric's got some nice stuff like magical damage for the army and such, but compared to horrible regeneration for every unit, it's nothing. And of course, there's also the fact that Burplesmirk has access to the lore of Nurgle, which is also insanely powerful, on top of all that extra healing. Anyway, we're choosing Azric. So yeah, before anybody comes in and says Burplesmirk is much better, I know. That's why I pick him every time, but we gotta do Tzeentch this time. Anyway, a palatable scorn binds the rocky height where loathing stretches from end to end. At its foot, the stone sinks into a mire of worm-churned rot and stifling corruption. Within that noisome circle lies the swollen carcass of a raven, a totem sprawled upon the brink between suppuration and death's decay. High upon the naked crag, a solitary eagle crests the horizon, its outline a shifting spectre of form and omen. The clouds above hang low and brooding, their shapes ever-changing, ever dire. Each of these eternal foes whispers of treasures beyond the wildest avarice, unknowing that your allegiance is sworn only to the thirst for dominion, except the champion of the eagle. Let us weave upon the endless complexity of fate and architecture of layer upon cunning layer. Azric the Maze Keeper. And we're building a Tzeentch army anyway. And you're going to be on field. So Azric starts over rank 30, nice. Azric gives flaming attacks to the entire army, meaning we could do 2 fire armies then, because we wouldn't need to use the burning head of the Bullivak-Shi, or just the head of the Bullivak-Shi for this particular purpose. I also note that he gives in plus 800 barrier hit points, which would in theory stack with the monstrous Arcanum barrier, which could potentially be nice. Yeah, but yeah, look at frickin' Burplesmirk. Poison attacks for the entire army. Battle, horrible regeneration and combatant resurrection for the entire army, plus 30% HP for all characters, 50% increase to healing cap and physical resistance on top of the lore of Nurgle. Frankly, I feel like you should get both anyway. I don't know why they made you choose. It's only 2 options. It's not like it's going to make a huge difference to any campaign really, but you know. Anyway, Gift of the Eagle. Plus, it also feels like Sayl and Tzeentch kind of have a shinning thing going on. But anyway, what do we have? Do you have anything interesting in your unique line? Confounding Barriers increases your own personal barrier hit points. I just want to see if this buffs any... Attacks cause unraveling existence. Oh, I wish I could use that. I really, really do, but Executor means no. Silence for heroes in the army, in the Lord's army, but do you get a plus 100% spell intensity? So basically you become a superpowered caster versus you getting an extra solid little bit of barrier. Honestly, I'm gonna probably make you a super caster. Hey, 1 point in Mentor immediately as well. And yeah, Hardened Monstrosities. Monstrous Arcanum get the plus 800 barrier, so that could combine with the Gift of the Eagle for even more barrier. Though it's been kind of difficult to get Monstrous Arcanum units, to be fair. Anyway, I'm not entirely sure what exactly his army is going to look like as yet. Let's get base chance reduction. Devious Flames. Weakness to fire damage. Oh, it's got weakness to fire damage as well. That's lovely. And yeah, let's get this at the very least. And then we'll figure out what out of this we'll want to do after we get him his army, which is still being recruited, minus, well, okay, wait. We know for a fact that he's the champion of the Eagle. We know for a fact that we'll want the Chimera. And we will want the, Am I crazy or did I, Oh, I never built them. The followers of the Great Eagle Marauder Chariots. Yeah, we'll want those guys in here. And we'll take the other 2 Marauder Chariots as well. Can't have 1 chariot, it would bother me too much. Alrighty, there we go. 3. 3 is good enough. 1 with Warp Flame and 2 regular. Plus we gotta have some, not super powered units in here. Fimir kind of feel like they make sense to me with the Tzeentch army. Not a huge amount of them, mind you, but a decent amount. We got 2 regular Fimir warriors, and we'll want a couple with great weapons as well for some anti-large. If I can find them. What? Oh, they're back here. Alright, get a couple of Fimir with great. You know what, I'll figure this out between the episodes, what I want to put into that army. And in the meantime, we're out of time. I'm going to call the episode here. Next time we continue advancing through Karaz-a-Karak, though they are, by the looks of it, pretty much done for. And, where are you going? Somebody's gonna have to hunt that guy down. Anyway, Kukar is looking to cross to Karak-Kadrin with his Berserkers. Our Slaaneshi army is ready. We got a Monstrous Arcanum quest next time, and lots of stuff to do. Like, really a lot of stuff to do. Honestly, I find it a bit of a shame that this campaign kind of fell off, because it started off slow, but it's become really, really fun. I guess the 3 campaigns all kind of had a very different pacing, whereas Aislinn had the best early game because, lots and lots of stuff and craziness, but by the late game, he's so ridiculously strong that nothing can stand against him. And then Dakala had an amazing mid-game because she's got as soon as she confederated Nikari, we basically have endless fights on Ulthuan. And then, of course, the Sayl campaign has the best end game, so early game, mid-game, late game. I almost wonder if they did that on purpose. Yeah, it's been really fun, and there's still so much to do here. I feel like I might eventually just transfer this campaign over to the Shadow channel because I want to keep playing it. That's how much fun with it I'm having. But anyway, I digress. In the meantime, more Sayl to come, so stay tuned. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.